Breaking Bridget.
There were so many things that broke me last week, and the news cycle has already moved on, and it's unfair because I can't keep up with it because I don't have a team of people and millions of dollars. So, and this is the average person, by the way. They don't have the time to keep up with this. But what really fucking kills me about all of this is the Friday news dump. It should be illegal, and it's so calculated. So Thursday night at midnight, the Senate voted on a bill that the House of Representatives passed a week before. They pushed through FISA, which is hilariously retitled as the Reforming Intelligence and Security America Act, FISA. Reforming Intelligence and Security. That's not what they're doing. They're actually renewing and expanding intelligence and security under the guise of protecting Americans, but it's really just the ability to spy on Americans, and now they're using other Americans and American businesses to do so. And people will tell me in my comments to calm down. Like, anytime you give the government power, they don't abuse it. There's been many instances of the FBI already warrantlessly spying on Americans with data that they collect in these huge data dumps that they get, and everybody was kind of pushing for them to scale back and at least demand a warrant, reform some of this overreach, and instead, nope, they expanded it. Sweet. So that passed the Senate because our representatives don't give a shit about us. But thank you to everybody who called. I do think it made a difference. It is coming up for renewal in 2 years. That's one of the slivers of hope that this is something that comes up for debate again in 2 years. It's one of the few concessions that the people who are fighting to even get this reformed got. So, like, calling your senators does matter. Calling your representatives does matter. Even if they get, dozens of calls, it feels, we've talked to people who work, staffers who work for these people. It feels like something that they care about, even though ultimately it doesn't seem like they really care about Americans. But I can't be that black pill. I have to believe there's hope. I have to believe that we can pull back, because once these agencies get power, it is so freaking impossible to get it back, and our privacy matters. If we don't have privacy, we don't have free speech. Those two things go hand in hand. And if you erode at someone's fundamental right of privacy, you erode at their fundamental right at free speech. And if you are trying to say that you are not allowed to have privacy, soon it will be something that is criminal. It's so dark. I hate this shit. So FISA, which is just the renewal of FISA Section 702, was renewed, expanded, voted on at midnight. And then the next day, Friday, past Friday, they rolled out all the Title IX revisions, which immediately stepped on all the FISA stuff. And then everybody was talking about Title IX, and then it was Friday, and then everybody goes into the weekend where they're at Costco eating hot dogs and trying to plant their garden and spend time with their families before they're back into the rat race and before the news cycle starts up again. So Title IX was something that they pushed through again, this is more of the same, where we are just having regulations pushed through all of these government agencies instead of through legislation. Although, given the past week, it doesn't really seem to matter whether it's legislation or whether it's by fiat or whatever. This is what we were talking about on the Tulsi interview, which if you have not watched, Walk-ins Welcome, go watch it. We'll put it in the link in the description below. She talks about how she used to think when people said, oh, we need to disband the Department of Education entirely, that it was a little extreme. And now she's like, no, disband it, get rid of it. And I'm on board with that because these agencies have too much power. These government, bureaucratic, huge, federal, ridiculous monstrosities shouldn't be allowed to govern all of these. It's actually insane. Title IX was supposed to protect women and give women equal opportunity, and now it's somehow reversed itself and now become a mockery of that. Not only that, there's many things that happened in the revisions, but Title IX restored the kangaroo courts. They basically got rid of due process. Betsy DeVos under Trump, she tried to put some semblance of due process back. Lots of these kids were getting kicked out of colleges. They had no right, again, now we're back to this, they have no right to know what the accuser is saying, what they're being accused of. It's a fundamental right of their free speech. Fire has been on this and saying this is all bad just for a multitude of reasons. Both of these things that I'm talking about in Breaking Bridget deserve their own videos, deep dives, time, patience. I will try and do that because I know people don't have time for this shit. And I do, kind of, when I'm not able to sleep at night because I'm spinning out about all of this stuff. I will try and put together something that goes into a little bit more depth about what actually happened with the Title IX revisions. But it essentially, they're threatening to withhold federal funding if you don't comply. It's compelled speech. You're compelling everybody to use the pronouns of whatever they choose. It allows the schools to basically hide things from parents. So it's taking away some of the parental rights. If a kid goes to school and wants to identify one way, they don't have to tell the parents, which I think is shameful. The most egregious and probably far-reaching and insidious thing that they did is they expanded the definition of sex to include sexual orientation and gender identity. Gender identity being whatever you decide to be that day if you want. And under those new restrictions, essentially what they're threatening to withhold federal funding if you don't play the game. That means that locker rooms, bathrooms, housing accommodations, dorms, sports teams, scholarship opportunities, all for women are now open up to men who just want to identify as women. It's insane. It's insane. They don't care about women. They're not protecting women. None of this. Like, you shouldn't have to share a dorm with a man if you don't want to. You shouldn't be in a locker room with a man if you don't want to be. You shouldn't be exposed to male genitalia if you don't want to be. As a woman, this is basic shit. And you should be able to get a scholarship for a sports that isn't taken by some mediocre dude who's going to freaking identify as a woman, because why wouldn't you? If you're savvy and trying to take advantage of the system. It's bonkers. It's infuriating. It's outrageous. I never, again, want to hear from this. And Biden was tweeting, or Biden, obviously not Biden was tweeting, but his administration was tweeting on his behalf, and none of it is him, that they were saying something like, we care about women's sports. Women should be paid equally. I'm sorry. You're all brain dead and insane if you think for 2 seconds I believe that you give a shit about fair pay for women's sports. You don't even care that men are taking women's spots on teams and are beating women in competitions at high schools. Like, you care about fair pay. You don't care about any of this. You're hypocrites. You have no intellectual consistency. You're just repeating mantras like, we care about women's free pay. And also, men should be allowed on women's sports teams. Go f yourselves. You're crazy. I'm sorry. When the administration tries to tweet that they give a shit about this, you can't take it seriously. They clearly don't. Like, it's a parody. It's such a parody. It's so in your face. It's insulting. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Sheath Underwear. I'm wearing these booty shorts right now, and my husband is constantly like, your ass looks amazing in those when I'm just bopping around in them. They're so comfortable. They are the most adorable little boy shorts that they have. They also have a new thong for women. I'm starting with the women because Mother's Day is coming up, so get your woman some sweet new undies that you're going to want to smack that ass over and over again. They also have the dual pouch system for men, and it keeps everything nice and compartmentalized so that when you're mowing the lawn and doing your yard work and out there throwing the ball with your kids in your nice Americana dream, you can be wearing Sheath Underwear, the underwear of champions. Truly now, they are sponsoring the UFC. Please go to sheathunderwear.com, use the code DUMPSTER to get 20% off your entire order. Mother's Day's coming up, Father's Day's coming up. These are such good gifts, and they sell out often, so get on it, and link is in the description below.